All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio, taking a look at some stories outside of our normal scope. And we'll start off with Major League Baseball as the lockout appears to finally be over. About 100 days into this thing, MLB and the players have agreed to a labor deal that will allow for a full 2022 baseball season after a lot of flirtation many times over the last couple of weeks. Random reporters late at night appearing to say that, oh, this thing's about to happen, only for it to just completely fizzle out hours later or by the time the morning rolled around. But not this time. There will be a 2022 baseball season, and they will play a 162 game schedule. Opening day was canceled 9 days ago. It's been an owner-implemented lockout, and the new labor contract was agreed to today in New York City. They called it the 11 hour or the bottom of the ninth, but the union called out some bluffs on the part of the league, and there were some ultimatums involved as well. And when all was said and done, no matter what the beef was, whether it was this money here or minor leaguers or what, bottom line is baseball is going to be played this year. They're going to play a 162 game schedule, and anybody worried about not having the sport around or there being some sort of miniature micro season, that is not going to be the case. MLB is going to be played. I said this yesterday, and I really we see these labor disputes. Some are settled even when it doesn't look like they're going to be. Some of them, I just said, let me know when they're going to play. Let me know when they're about to play. And I'll tell you this, I say that. In all the years I've been involved in broadcasting, 40 years, I've been to some pretty damn good events and been to, some crazy good stuff. But my most relaxing is not Cowboys training camp in California or wherever they have been. It has been baseball training camp. It is something that I recommend for everybody to be able to do with your son or just by yourself if you're a baseball fan. And it'll be another one this year. It's been 3 or 4 years for me, but I love baseball, but tell me when the games begin. Well, they're going to begin here in April the 7th is when they're going to begin. That's going to be opening day. That's not that far. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's like a month away. Yeah. So let's say some of these guys have already been working out. Hopefully pitchers have not been just sitting around just eating popcorn. I don't think they were all sitting around eating. I think they all realized this thing could happen at any moment. But the new CBA expands the playoffs to 12 teams and also introduces incentives to limit teams from tanking. The minimum salary rises from $570,500 to about $700,000. Luxury tax threshold increases from $210 million to around $230 million. And a new bonus pool established for players not yet eligible for arbitration, so young stars can make better salaries more quickly. So those were some of the things that were involved in getting this thing settled and getting things in order for an April 7th opening day. And one of the more intriguing things about baseball coming to this agreement, and just the fact that the game's coming back is good for all the baseball fans out there. I know there's a lot of other sports fans who are like, whatever, but for the baseball fans, not as exciting as you're going to see the game. But now this will reinvigorate the free agent market. Yep. Carlos Correa does not have a team right now. Freddie Freeman. That wouldn't take long. Freddie Freeman does not have a team right now. Carlos Rodon, Chris Bryant. There's a lot of names out there that don't have deals. So we're going to get that resumed, and I'm very intrigued by where Carlos Correa lands when all is said and done. So we're getting the baseball season, free agency starting back up, and all is good in the world of baseball. So let the games begin here in a little over 3 weeks from now. Also, looking around at some stories, a massive trade in the NFL today. You kind of alluded to it earlier, and this one was, in fact, a big one, as you're going to see Khalil Mack on the move from Chicago and headed to sunny skies in Los Angeles as a member of the Chargers organization. Mack traded from Chicago. Second time he's been traded now in his career. Of course, got traded from the Raiders to the Bears just a few years ago. He's going to L.A. in exchange for a 2022 second-round draft pick and a sixth-rounder in 2023, according to the NFL Network. He'd been in Chicago since before the 2018 season with that trade that I had mentioned. So now he's back in the AFC West, where he was doing his thing with Oakland, who's now in Las Vegas, and he will be playing the Raiders twice a year as a member of the Chargers. So you look at that AFC West and the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and company, and obviously everything that they've been doing. The Chargers now, they add Khalil Mack, Justin Herbert's obviously, a very exciting young player as well, and they've got some others. The Raiders are clearly trying to make the most of the Las Vegas opportunities, and they had to go through some rough waters last year with Gruden and just everything, and then Henry Ruggs, who I'm going to mention here in a second. And so you got the Chiefs, and then of course the Broncos make the big move for Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be one hell of a division, the AFC West, and they just got even better today. But yeah, Khalil Mack on his way to the Los Angeles Chargers.
Last year, the NFC West seemed to be the best, and now it looks like the AFC West is going to be right there with him. And a lot of it depends on who else is retained, who's not traded, who's not let go, and all that, or who moves on as free agents. But man, they are loaded up. Khalil Mack, I remember when the Raiders traded him. And you're like, what the hell? And you know what? They never really did much in Chicago, did they? I had one playoff team, I think.
Yeah, he was good. The team around him wasn't great. He had Mitch Trubisky, and eventually you got Fields in there. But no, there's a lot of work to do in Chicago. They've been since Lovey in the Super Bowl, very. I won't even say up and down, mostly down. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't Khalil Mack that was the problem. So he is on his third team now and is going to be back in the AFC West. NFL Network, Ian Rappaport in particular, also reporting that the Cowboys are having active trade conversations surrounding right tackle La'el Collins. He's had some availability issues at times. Missed all of 2020 due to an injury. Got injured again earlier in the season back in September. Suspended in 5 games in 2021 for violating the league's substance abuse policy. So it's been there's been some hits for sure, but there's also been some misses in regarding to his availability. But he has been a big piece of their offensive line. So your thoughts on the Cowboys apparently openly, listening to trade conversations in regards to La'el Collins? I
think that there's disappointment. He could have gone anywhere. The Cowboys are the Cowboys, and so they were able to get him basically for he dropped in their lap. He was good. Then they got him a new contract, and then there was a thought that he got out of shape. Last year he lost his job again. And then a lot of it, again, he's had issues with injuries, but it was almost like, remember the question was, who's the guy, the other offensive lineman that stepped in? And there were questions like, should La'el Collins move somewhere else? He makes a ton of money. They've got to cut the fat, and I'm not saying that because La'el Collins he's a big, strong guy. They got to be careful here because you have Zach Martin who's up in age. Tyron Smith can't stay on the field very much because of the back at times. Connor Williams, you would think, is done. Biotis took a step back, and Paul would know a lot more about this than I would. But that's kind of. But if you can get some collateral for him, then that's a $10 million a year player.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to make a whole heck of a lot of money. It's a salary cap thing. I mean, he's looking at $15+ million entering next season. They're over the cap by $1 million. They'll find their way under that, and an easy way to do that right away is to trade La'el Collins in that contract. But, I mean, you got Terrence Steele that you feel pretty good about. So, yeah, I mean, the Cowboys – interesting thing about Cowboys' offensive line is how set up it was about 5 years ago and how it's completely disintegrated
It was a monster 5 years ago. Yeah, and, of course, then they had Travis Frederick ended up with that – Barnes, what is a syndrome that knocked him out? Guillain-Barré. And so, yeah, I mean, you feel like at times have they missed an opportunity with an incredible offensive line, and they were unbelievable to what they now are. And then all these receivers and the toys and the running backs and Dak, you just never know when it can go right out the window.
I mentioned the Raiders a second ago. Henry Ruggs had his preliminary hearing delayed in his DUI crash that caused the death of a young woman, a 23-year-old, and her dog. He crashed into their car. Well, a lot of us have seen the video of the aftermath, and of course, many people have seen the story. So, of course, he was alleged to have been driving more than 156 miles per hour on a residential street.
That's nuts.
Which, I don't care how many beers you've had. Yeah. I don't care. There's absolutely there's no legitimate excuse for driving 156. There's none. So, Ruggs was arrested at the time, obviously. Said his blood alcohol level is at 0.161, which is, not only was he driving like triple the speed limit, if not quadruple, but he was also double the BAC limit. So he was charged with DUI resulting in death, DUI resulting in substantial bodily harm, and 2 counts of reckless driving. If convicted, he does face up to 50 years in prison. But in terms of this preliminary hearing, it was delayed on Thursday per the Las Vegas Review-Journal. So I just kind of providing a small update there. Not that there's a lot to chew on other than what we already knew, but just of interest that that continues on. And man, he's going to get a jail sentence of some kind, but that's still just one of those stories that it kind of breaks your heart in a way, not only because of obviously the aftermath of or what happened, and a young woman and also an animal, poor helpless defensive animal losing its life, but just the violence of that crash from the descriptions of it, and just the life thrown away, in terms of Henry Ruggs and where he was and what he had at his disposal and at his fingertips, and just threw it all away.
Dial up if you want to, either on YouTube or somewhere on Google, whatever you use. Nick Saban on Henry Ruggs' crash.
Yeah, we played that.
Oh, and if you haven't seen it, and it's not him, he is not trying to say that Henry Ruggs is not at fault. He was trying to talk about responsibilities to someone or the person in the room or whatever. It's a pretty good deal. And I always like listening to what Saban has to say. He seems like he can say it in a way that it hits me. I don't know. But, that's a pretty powerful thing, what he said at a coaching seminar.
Mental health has been a big topic, especially the last couple of years. And on that note, definitely a mental health story coming out of Ohio State football. Offensive lineman Harry Miller announced his medical retirement from football today. He posted a pretty lengthy message to Twitter, and in that message he said that he had suicidal thoughts and that he actually went to head coach Ryan Day telling him that he needed help. He said, prior to the season last year, I told Coach Day of my intention to kill myself. He immediately had me in touch with Dr. Candace Williams and Dr. Joshua Norman, and I received the support I needed. He was with the Buckeyes the past few seasons and started 7 games at guard or left guard for them back 2 seasons ago when they had the big Sugar Bowl Big Ten championship run. Only played in 2 games this past year. He's a former 5-star recruit out of Georgia. He said, a person like me who supposedly has the entire world in front of them can be fully prepared to give up the world entire. This is not an issue reserved for the far and away. It is in our homes. It is in our conversations. It is in the people we love. He praised on Day and the Ohio State program for the amount of support. He got a lot of support online when he posted his message as well. Former Ohio State wide receiver Michael Thomas and many others were among those to reach out with a message to him. So he's apparently done really well in school, 4.0 type of guy, but he's hanging up the cleats, and that's a pretty big admission to say that you full-blown thought about suicide and you went to Ryan Day with it. But hopefully that was a bit cathartic for him, and hopefully, and it sounds like he's got things in order and his perspective is good, and obviously, football doesn't need to be any kind of a hindrance to any healthy life he's going to live. So, pretty interesting story there from Harry Miller in Ohio State football.
Seems to be in control. That's good. That's the first thing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously was not totally at some point, but it does seem like he has improved his mental health. So just kind of a unique, interesting story there. And finally, I'll close it out with this. There's a big-time running back here in Central Texas in the 2023 class named Trey Wisner. He's from Waco Connolly High School, who we did games for a couple of years back. He's a 4-star rated player, I think pretty much across the board. Just very dynamic, almost wiry running back / slot receiver type of a player. Baylor offered him, of course, because they're right here in his backyard, but he has come out with his top 8 schools, and the Bears, the hometown Bears, are not a part of that. But who is? Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Oregon, USC, Texas A&M, Arkansas, and Florida State. So those are Trey Wisner schools.
Pretty good mixture around the country, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Big 12 SEC, and then you got USC and Florida State and Oregon as well from outside those ranks. But yeah, OU, Oklahoma State, Oregon, USC, Texas, A&M, Arkansas, Florida State. Looks like one of those will be the destination at some point for Connolly 4-star running back Trey Wisner, and whoever gets him, they'll be getting a very dynamic, talented player.
We saw him his sophomore year. I saw him once his junior year. He is a spectacular game-breaking talent. He doesn't get a lot of touches. He also plays safety, so he's got some toughness playing safety. And then at that level in 4A, you're going to probably have to play both ways if you're a pretty good athlete. That's got to be disappointing, but Baylor's done a really nice job under Dave Aranda of kind of helping start to lock in their backyard. But Wisner and Darian Gullett and some of the guys that are in this area, you got to wonder, but they've been able to get really good stuff out of Temple lately. But yeah, you want to, and Colleen, you want to protect your backyard. But I always thought Wisner, for whatever reason, I thought he'd end up at Oklahoma or USC. That was just me. And you wonder, and it wasn't even the Lincoln Riley thing. But now maybe
there's something to that, though. He's going to probably end up at OU or USC, I think.
So
if I had to guess, and it's a total guess, but if I had to guess, I would say probably Oklahoma or USC. But, there's just a little local recruiting update, and those are a few things off the radar.
All right.